Hello everyone, this is part 30 of What If Naruto Meets the Nine Tails Early, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Rasengan. Kaiten. Naruto and Neji were at it again. Neji had found some way to strengthen his own Kaiten and now he was asking Naruto to, once again, test its strength with his Rasengan. Like the previous times, an explosion followed, enveloping Naruto and Neji in a cloud of smoke. When the smoke cleared, both genin were facing each other, not having given ground to the other. Hey, so you can withstand the Rasengan now. What did you change this time? Asked Naruto. As you and Hinata-sama have been working on chakra nature manipulation, so have I. However, I possess the nature of my clan, Earth. By adding Earth chakra to my Kaiten, I have been able to increase the power of my defense. Judging by that last attack, I would say my Kaiten is now on par with your Rasengan, said Neji. Naruto just smirked. Now Sasuke, if you would, I would like to test my defense against your Chidori as well. Sasuke stepped forward from the tree he was leaning against and nodded at Neji. Ready? Sasuke asked, forming the seals for Chidori. Neji nodded and Sasuke ran at Neji, his jutsu active. Chidori. Kaiten. The two attacks collided, but Sasuke's Chidori S threw Neji's defense like butter. If it wasn't for the reflexes that he had gained over the past month from training with Kakashi, he wouldn't have been able to cancel the jutsu in time as he himself collided with Neji and the two were sent tumbling across the ground. Nisan. Hinata ran to her cousin's side, hoping nothing serious had been done. That was a little too close, said Sasuke, trying to peel Ino off of him, who had come running with Hinata. Yes, it appears my assumption was correct, stated Neji. Assumption? Asked Sasuke. The chakra I was using for the Kaiten was earth-based. I wanted to test it against a lightning-based attack to see how well it withstood. I was afraid that being at an elemental disadvantage, my Kaiten would prove ineffective, and I was correct, said Neji. Your Chidori, a jutsu of equal power as Naruto's Rasengan, bested my improved Kaiten due to the elemental advantage. I believe my defense would work against lower lightning jutsu, but something like the Chidori, well, I think we all know. It appears as if you still have some work to do, said Naruto. So it does, if I truly wish to make the Kaiten an ultimate defense, said Neji. Although I thank you and Sasuke for your help. Hey Hinata, you want to go work on that new wind jutsu now? Hinata nodded to Naruto's question and the two of them went off to their own separate corner of the training ground that the entire Konoha 12 were at. Damn it, where is that lazy sensei? Asked Sakura. She was waiting for Kakashi for a good hour now after the time that he said he would show. In reality, she shouldn't have been surprised. This is Kakashi we're talking about. If you're waiting for him, expect to be waiting another hour or two, especially now that he's got. Sasuke and Sakura just shivered at the thought, still unable to get the image of that night out of their heads. Yeah, I shouldn't be surprised, but there is just something I've been asked to ask him, said Sakura. Sasuke looked on with a little interest. You remember that day after Naruto told us that he had wind chakra and Kakashi tested my chakra for the fire nature. You want to learn a fire jutsu, don't you? Responded Sasuke as he walked over towards. Well, Sakura really wasn't sure. Yeah, I've been studying medical jutsu for about 2 months now and while I'm progressing fast, I don't have any combat applications for it yet. I was hoping Kakashi-sensei might be able to teach me some sort of fire jutsu that might be enough to get me through these exams, said Sakura. To her bewilderment, Sasuke tossed Sakura a stick. What's this for? Fire jutsu training. Mold chakra into your hands and superheat it. Once you can ignite the stick on fire, you'll be ready to learn a fire jutsu or two, explained Sasuke. Really? Asked Sakura in disbelief. Yep, replied Sasuke. In fact, once you get that stick ignited, I might even show you one of mine. Ino observed the whole event, completely dumbfounded. Sasuke, do you think you could show me something? Asked Ino, hoping to get in on Sasuke's, I'll help you, train. Nope, replied Sasuke before walking away. Ino got a bit mad before turning to Sakura. Okay, Spill it. What did you do, billboard brow? Shouted an angry Ino. Surprisingly, Sakura wasn't fazed. In fact, she laughed a little. Ino, I'm not the silly little fangirl who always fought with you back in the academy. I've realized that being like that has hindered my training as a ninja, and I decided to give up on being a silly little fangirl. I'm now taking my training seriously, and it's not to impress Sasuke or anyone, it's to prove to myself that I really can become strong, lectured Sakura. I don't get it. You're playing at something. I'm not going to let you win, Sasuke, with whatever tricks you're playing, declared Ino before storming off to find Sasuke. Sakura sighed. This was going to be harder than she hoped. Let her go for now. She'll come around to see eventually, said Tenten, placing a hand on Sakura's shoulder. At the same time, she flicked a kunai away, knocking an apple off the top of Neji's head. And I know this is a little late, but it's good to see that you've decided to take your training seriously now instead of be a silly little fangirl. Yeah, I know. I just wish I could get through to Ino. She was my best friend until I let this whole little Sasuke companion get in our way, and I just want her back as my friend. But until she learns that the whole fangirl demeanor won't get her anything, then I'm afraid that won't happen, said Sakura. Futon. Great breakthrough. Everyone there felt a big gust tear through the training ground, nearly tearing some of the lighter ones from their feet. Wow, that was great, Hinata, shouted Naruto. Everyone sent the poor girl a look, and she resorted to hiding herself behind a grinning Naruto. Such a shame, said a voice coming onto the scene. A Hyuga who has to resort to ninjutsu to overcome her many shortcomings, pathetic. Everyone's attention was turned to see that Hyuga Shinji had arrived. Both Neji and Naruto shot the newcomer a glare. And why is an oh so great Hyuga gracing us with his presence? Responded Naruto. I've come to train with my team, isn't that why you're here as well? Asked Shinji. He walked over towards Ino, who was busy stalking Sasuke at the time. A fangirl and AA, it's a miracle as to how they even made it past the first round of the last exam. As he passed Sasuke, he shot Sasuke a disgusted look. Uchiha. Hyuga, responded Sasuke. Since the beginning of the village, there was always a rivalry between the Hyugas and the Uchihas over who had the stronger dojutsu. However, after the Uchiha that rivalry pretty much s with the clan, and even Sasuke didn't seem too into the great dojutsu rivalry, as it was called in the early days of the village. Then again, he hadn't had his Sharingan for that long, and his mind was focused on other things. Also, the only two Hyuga he came into regular contact with were Hinata and Neji, who he both found, at the very least, tolerable. Unfortunately, Shinji was looking to revive the dojutsu rivalry, as there was now an Uchiha in Konoha who wielded the Sharingan. Kaiten, great fireball jutsu. Sakura shouted before unleashing the fire chakra she had gathered in her lungs. A small flame erupted from her mouth, followed by smoke as she started coughing. Not bad for a first try, responded Sasuke. It had taken 4 days for Sakura to get that stupid stick to light on fire. In her defense, it wasn't the only thing she was working on. It's pretty much what I did for my first attempt at it. Yeah, but you were 7, had maybe a quarter of the chakra I have now, and control worse than Naruto, retorted Sakura. Well then, give it another try. It took me a week before I got it after my first try. If what you're saying is correct, you should be able to do it by the end of the day, said Sasuke, trying to give her a bit of encouragement. Sakura spent the rest of the day trying to get that one jutsu down until, Kaiten, great fireball jutsu. She did it. Sakura began jumping for joy until she finally collapsed from chakra exhaustion, forcing Sasuke to carry her back to her house. On the way there, Ino managed to spot the two. What? How dare you, billboard brow? That should be me on Sasuke's back, shouted Ino. Sakura was pretty sure she heard the shouts and couldn't help it as her sweat dropped and she sighed. However, on the inside, inner Sakura was celebrating her victory. As the departure date for Kumo grew ever near, the group of genin were assembled on the day before departure in one of the larger auditoriums of the academy. In total, there were 23 teams, or 69 genin, that would be representing Konoha in the exams. Looks like everyone's here. Let's get this started, announced Tsunade. Tomorrow you'll all be departing for the Chunin exams in Kumo. It'll be a 4-day journey and you'll arrive early on the 4th day, giving you the rest of the day to recover from the traveling. The exams will begin the day after you arrive and the format will be very similar to how we do ours, although I cannot tell you exactly what each test entails. The most I can say for sure is that the first exam will have something to do with information gathering, the second exam will be a survival exam, and the third exam will consist of one-on-one matches. Most of the genin nodded at Tsunde's announcement. Now, Kumogaku's Chunin exam is considered the largest of the Chunin exams, and as such, you will face a strong presence of compeers from various villages, but especially Kumo. I advise you to help one another instead of hindering those from your own village. As a last word, I am confident that there will be a strong Konoha presence in the third exam finals. With that, Tsunade concluded her briefing for the Chunin exams and the genin were dismissed. Later that evening, Naruto was walking through Konoha, hoping to grab one last ramen dinner before departing. Unfortunately, tonight's dinner would have to be spent alone as his friends were eating with their respective families. In reality, this really didn't bother him as he, Tsuki, and Ayami always managed some interesting conversations. It was during this walk that he spotted a few familiar faces walking through Konoha, one of them wearing a large gourd on his back. "Hello Naruto," Gaara greeted his first true friend. He was accompanied by his siblings, who both looked more comfortable being with their brother since the last time. "Hey, what are you doing here? If you're coming to the Chunin exams, they're in Kumo, not here," asked Naruto. "We're in the exams too, and Konoha happens to be on the way to Kumo, so we figured we would find a place to crash here for tonight," explained Temari. "So where were you heading just now?" "Well, I was kind of going to get some ramen," said Naruto. "Ramen? What's that?" asked Gaara. Naruto nearly had a heart attack on spot as Gaara uttered what practically amounted to a sin in Naruto's books, that is until he bought into Gaara's little joke. "Ah, you're funny Gaara. What's ramen? Ha ha," laughed Naruto. Unfortunately, Gaara wasn't laughing. "I don't get it. What's so funny?" asked a confused Gaara. "Wait, you were serious?" asked a completely stupefied Naruto. Gaara just nodded as Naruto began to freak out. "Oh my, we've gotta get some ramen in you stat." Before Gaara could even respond, Naruto had grabbed him by the shirt and began running off in the directions of Ichiraku, leaving only a sand silhouette of Gaara behind, which quickly followed. Kankuro and Temari were left behind in the jaws, pretty much brushing the street. What is it, Pops? My ramen senses are tingling." "What? You don't have ramen senses?" "I do, see." Tsuki and Ayami watched as an orange blob, dragging a red blob behind him, crashed into their little ramen stand. "Old man, it's an emergency!" shouted Naruto. Tsuki and Ayami were busy brushing the sand off of them that had come crashing into them shortly after Naruto and Gaara. "Naruto, what did I tell you?" growled Tsuki. I know, but this really is an emergency. This guy's never had ramen before." Tsuki and Ayami's minds went blank as they tried to process the phrase they never thought they would ever hear. "What? This can't be. Ayami, get on the noodle right away," ordered Tsuki as the ramen chef began freaking out. "Already on it, Pops," shouted Ayami. "Hurry, we've got to get ramen in this poor fellow before he progresses into the later stages of round," shouted Tsuki. "RND?" asked Naruto. "Ramen negligence disease," explained Tsuki. "It's a horrible disease characterized by head and abdominal pain, questioning of your very existence, and the hearing of voices inside your head. If allowed to progress too far, then the person suffering transforms into a giant rage monster bent on destroying everything around." "Wow, just wow," said Naruto in complete and utter disbelief. "Why do I feel the sudden urge to smack that guy upside the head repeatedly?" retorted Kurama. "Well, at least we know why Gaara would always go berserk and wipe out half of Suna," joked Naruto. "Shut it before I decide to smack you as well. Oh come on, lighten up. You know, perhaps you need some ramen. Maybe it will help you relax as well," said Naruto. "I've had way too much of that stuff as a result of being sealed inside 3 Uzumakis for over 100 years. 100 years of ramen. Even your seal smells like ramen, and I'm almost positive the water inside that sewer was ramen." "What? 100 years of ramen?" replied Naruto. "What have you got to say now?" "Ha," responded Kurama. "2 words, lucky bastard," responded Naruto as he left the fox laughing a bit. After 3 minutes of panic, Tsuki finally set a bowl of ramen down in front of Gaara. Everyone there stared at Gaara as the Suna Jinchuriki picked up the chopsticks and took his very first bite of ramen. As the ramen hit the taste buds in Gaara's mouth, his eyes shot open. Well, asked Naruto, Tsuki, and Ayami in unison. This is amazing, said Gaara before delving into the rest of the bowl. Naruto, Tsuki, and Ayami let out a long-held breath, disaster averted. Come on, what are we waiting for? Asked an ever-impatient Naruto. All the genin teams from Konoha were waiting at the village gates. Sakura, Sasuke, and a few others sighed. Just calm down, we're waiting for the escort team to arrive, explained Sakura. I don't get why we need an escort team, I mean there are over 80 trained ninja here, argued Naruto. Suddenly, he felt something across his cheek and a kunai embedded itself in the ground in front of him. Well, if it ain't my favorite little Gaki, said Anko as she peeked over Naruto's shoulder and licked some of the bee from the sea her kunai created. Naruto couldn't help it as his entire body stiffened and he jumped away. What do you want, you crazy snake lady? Asked Naruto. Ah, come on, Gaki. I thought we were good friends. I was even there the first time you took that girl of yours out on a date. Hey, speaking of which, how are things going with her? Asked Anko. Fine, I guess, responded Naruto to Anko's question, not wanting to give too much away to the crazy snake lady. Oh, and look, there she is, said Anko as she dragged Naruto off towards where Hinata and her team were. Within seconds, both genin were wrapped up in Anko's arms. So how are things going between my favorite couple? It feels like only yesterday that the three of us were eating dango together, said a smiling Anko. Hey, speaking of which, it's been a few months already, how far have you gotten? Should I be expecting to chase little blonde-haired Hyugas all over the village? Hinata turned a deep red. K-Kid. WWW with NN Naruto. The thoughts of having children with Naruto were too much for the poor girl and she fainted, but not before letting out a slight eep. Anko got that grin of satisfaction on her face before being called away by Genma. Shortly after, all 23 groups of Konoha genin, the dozen groups of Suna genin, the Jonin senseis, and the escort group that consisted of Anko, Genma, Shikamaru, and Yugao, were on their way to Kumo. When the massive group of Konoha and Suna genin stopped for the night, everyone kind of broke off into their separate groups. The most notable groups happened to be the Konoha 12, who were also joined by Kankuro and Temari. They were all having a good time, and even Sasuke managed a laugh or two, when he wasn't busy trying to fend off Ino's advances. Naruto was currently in the process of boiling water for a few cups of instant ramen that he had sealed away with him for the journey when he looked up into a tree to see Gaara sitting by himself. You know, you'll never make friends if you just sit there by yourself, said Naruto, joining Gaara on the same tree branch. I know, I am just afraid, said Gaara. What if they hate me as well? Or what if I can't control myself? Well, first, if they manage to get used to me, then getting used to you will be easy for them. And second, why are you afraid of losing control? Asked Naruto. For the past 5 months, ever since we last fought, I have been trying to hold off the Ichibi's desires to K. I would be lying if it has been since then. That was the last time I K while under the Ichibi's sway. Naruto didn't like where this was going. Tanuki. All he ever thinks about is K, complained Kurama. Yeah, we know, replied Naruto. Naruto, ever since I left Suna for these exams, he's been getting more persistent. I don't think I'm going to be able to make it through these exams without K. At least someone, warned Gaara. That didn't sound good to Naruto. Gaara also explained that the past 3 weeks he hadn't K was the longest he had gone, and his most recent K was an enemy on one of their missions. All in all, Gaara was making progress, but the Shukaku was still a big problem to Gaara's development. Think you can keep yourself from K any of the Konoha shinobi? Asked Naruto, trying to gauge where Gaara was at. I think I can do that, said Gaara. Good. As long as you can do that, then I won't kick your again. There is another of my friends in Kumo that I would ask you not to K, although I think she can take care of herself, said Naruto. Was it that blonde Kunoiki who came to your aid in the forest 6 months ago? Asked Gaara. Yeah. I've been wondering if Yugito will show in these exams, as I heard that Shikamaru and Haku were the only ones earning promotions. Anyways, I'll warn you now that if you run into her, you'll be in for one hell of a fight, said Naruto. She's one of us, isn't she? Asked Gaara. Naruto nodded and held up 2 fingers. It sounds like there's going to be a lot of people in this exam. I've heard even as much as twice as many as Konoha's exam. And you know what? I'm really looking forward to it. There's bound to be some strong opponents, said Naruto. I agree. Is there anyone in particular you would wish to fight? Asked Gaara. Naruto pointed down to the rest of the group, towards a particular Uchiha who was trying to pry himself free from Ino's suffocating grasp. Sasuke and I have been training like hell since the last exams. If there is anyone I want to fight, it's him. How about you? For you, I wouldn't K him, but I would like to face that green friend of yours, Lee. He was the first person to have ever hit me and the first one to push me. I accept your challenge, Gaara of the Desert. And I look forward to our most youthful contest, declared Lee. Apparently someone had been eavesdropping. Everyone's sweat dropped as they looked up into the trees towards the 2 Jinchuriki. Naruto, your water's boiling over, shouted Sakura. Yay, ramen, shouted Naruto. He turned to Gaara. Come down, join the group. A little conversation will do you some good. Gaara joined in for the rest of the night, and while he kind of just sat there, he couldn't help but feel like he was making some more friends. The following day, the group arrived at their intended campsite early, giving Sasuke some time to go off and train before it got too dark outside. He had managed to sneak away from his last shinobi fangirl, as the others had either failed the Genin exam and were going at it again this year, or had given up being ninja altogether, and then there was Sakura, who had given up on bugging him and had started to become a serious shinobi. He heard a snap of a branch behind him and instantly jumped into the trees, afraid his stalker had found him. Thankfully, it was only Naruto. You know, if I didn't know better, I'd say you were afraid of Ino, scaredy cat, said Naruto. Dobe. It's not that, it's just she's become so much more suffocating ever since Sakura stopped pestering me, said Sasuke. They used to busy fighting with each other and that would give me enough time to get away from them, but now. There's nothing to keep Ino at bay, is there? Asked Naruto. Sasuke shook his head as he let some shuriken fly towards a target on the tree. All 10 shuriken hit their mark. And back then, there was always you. What did I do this time? I thought you hated me like everyone else. Asked Naruto. I did, but you made the perfect fangirl shield, smirked Sasuke. HMPH, pouted Naruto, crossing his arms. He then got an idea as he pulled out one of his dad's kunai and tossed it at the shuriken Sasuke had lodged in a tree. The kunai sailed clean through the shuriken and the tree. Meh, seen that before, said Sasuke as he took 2 shuriken and threw them at the tree. They sailed past the tree, but wires wrapped around tree. Raiten, dragon lighting jutsu. Electricity traveled through the wires Sasuke had attached to the shuriken and into the tree as it splintered into many fragments, causing the tree to collapse to the ground. I see you've learned a new trick, said Naruto. About 3 dozen, so to speak, replied Sasuke. What? Kakashi taught you that many jutsu in a month? Asked Naruto in slight disbelief. Sasuke nodded. That lazy bum. He's been holding out on us. In my defense, most genin only know maybe 6 jutsu, outside the basic academy ones, by the end of their first year, said Kakashi from the top branch of a tree. This caught Sasuke and Naruto's attention. As was expected, he was reading his new book. PHFT, yeah right. You just wanted to read your books instead of teach us, scoffed Naruto. Kakashi just chuckled a little. Yeah, whatever. Still, genin normally don't learn many jutsu until at least their 2nd or 3rd year, and even those are basic. Most of them are C rank, and the rare ones no AB rank, yet both of you have an arsenal of B- and even A rank jutsu at your disposal. No matter what you say, the facts still show that I did a better job with you 3 than most of the other genin. Come to think of it, you shouldn't even be here. You're what, 12, 13? Most genin these days don't take the Chunin exams until they're 15 or 16. So, it's not our fault they lowered the standards on genin these days, said Sasuke. I mean, they even let Naruto pass. Hey, retorted Naruto. Anyways, why does it take so long for genin to take the exams? And why did you say they only know 6 or so jutsu outside the academy 3 at the end of the first year? Because that first year is spent on teamwork training and finding where everyone specializes. If you want information on that, go ask Guy about some of the stories he has about trying to find that Tenten was a natural weapons user. Although, it really wasn't that hard to realize that she would be good with weapons considering her dad owns the best weapons shop in the village, said Kakashi. The 3 of you have unique specialties that mimic that of the Sannin. Sakura, a medical expert like Tsunade, Naruto, a seal specialist like Jiraiya, and Sasuke, a jutsu expert like Orochimaru. There were a few snickers coming from Naruto. So Sasuke's going to turn out to be a pedophilic snake lover like that freak that likes to give little kids hickeys. Laughed Naruto. Sasuke shot Naruto what pretty much amounted to a death glare. I seriously hope not. But still, that doesn't excuse the fact that Sasuke has what it takes to surpass Orochimaru in terms of jutsu expertise, just like you and Sakura have the potential to surpass your respective masters. For you, Sasuke, you have something that Orochimaru will never have when it comes to learning jutsu, said Kakashi. The Sharingan, replied Sasuke. Kakashi nodded. It was because of his Sharingan that we were able to hammer 3 dozen jutsu into him in the period of a month. Not only that, but Sasuke has already displayed that he knows how to use them effectively, said Kakashi. Still, while Sasuke's waiting for you to show up every day, Sakura and I are going to be trained by the Sannin, although that pervert leaves a few things to be desired, said Naruto. The Dobe does have a point, thought Sasuke. Well, if you must know, I haven't been late once to one of our private training sessions, defended Kakashi. He then let out a sigh. I hate to admit it, but Naruto does have a point there. Orochimaru most likely would have been a good teacher for you, Sasuke. But as you said, that snake failed to defeat Itachi. Sasuke growled at Itachi's name. And Itachi got his skills from the village. And Orochimaru can't teach you to use the Sharingan, whereas I can. Not to mention, I've got a few favors I can pull around the Anbu that will more than compensate for anything Orochimaru could give you, said Kakashi with a smile. Oh Sasuke, come out, you bad boy. And that's my cue to get the hell out of here, said Sasuke as he took to the trees, wanting to get away before Ino showed up. Before leaving, he told Naruto one last thing. I overheard your conversation with Gaara last night, Naruto. You're the one I want to fight the most as well. As Sasuke had just left, Ino appeared out of the bushes, asking where Sasuke went. Both Kakashi and Naruto decided to see Sasuke some slack and pointed in the opposite direction Sasuke had gone. Before leaving himself, Kakashi turned to Naruto, who was still trying to take in the fact that Sasuke had learned so much in the past month and that pace of improving didn't appear to be slowing down anytime soon. Naruto, don't worry about any of that. Out of all 3 of you, you've grown the most and you're the one I really look forward to seeing how far you can get. If there's anyone who can surpass your dad, it's you, said Kakashi before disappearing as well. The final 2 days of travel were nothing noteworthy, except for the headache Anko managed to give the Kumo shinobi when they entered the Land of Lightning. As soon as they entered the village of Kumogakure, Naruto's attention was quickly drawn elsewhere as his hand was clutching a particular blue book. Yes, Kumogakure no Sato was home to one of the ramen stands in his passport and he was determined to get a nice warm bowl of whatever they served as their special dish. The moment he had the passport that he needed to hold onto for the exams and the location of the hotel they would be staying in, Naruto was off, leaving the rest of the Konoha 12 in the dust with their sweat dropping. Is ramen the only thing that Gaki ever thinks of? Asked Anko. Everyone who knew Naruto nodded. Naruto arrived at the ramen bar that he was looking for to encounter a rather large crowd. He managed to wiggle into a seat. Well fadder you know. It's my ramen buddy from Takanabe town, said a voice. Naruto looked over the bar to see the same Kusa ninja from back during the Land of Rivers mission that he met at the. Guess you're here for the specialty as well. Yep. Hey, any idea what it is? Asked Naruto. Nope. Hey, I don't think I ever got your name back in Takanabe, said the Kusa ninja. Uzumaki Naruto. What's yours? Asked a grinning Naruto. Naruto, huh. No wonder you're a ramen lover, even your name has something to do with it. Anyways, I'm Kenichi, said the Kusa ninja. Looks like you boys are here for the special, said the old chef. You bet, both Kenichi and Naruto exclaimed as they handed the man the passport. Hey, me too. Naruto and Kenichi looked over to see about 3 others from Kiri, and I were all having ramen passports. The chef just laughed. When you've got this many people in one place, there's bound to be at least a few of you guys. Right, give me a few minutes and I'll have them ready, said the chef. Hey Gano, I'll have what they're having as well, said a familiar voice as Naruto noticed a 6th passport being handed to the chef over his shoulder. The chef just smiled and nodded and Naruto looked back to see Yugito behind him. I must say I am surprised to see you here, Naruto. Hey, Yugito. Wait, you have a passport as well? Asked Naruto. Of course. Ramen's the best, Yugito smiled. Hey, it must be a Jinchuriki thing. I introduced Gaara to ramen the other day and he was in heaven, said Naruto. That certainly explains why he was always so busy. He must have been suffering from round, said Yugito. Wait, is that a real disease? Asked Naruto. Yep. Although you, me, that Gaara kid, and a few others are the only ones who could really turn into a giant rage monster, bent on wiping out an entire village, replied Yugito. I don't know, the Nibbies certainly got a liking for the stuff, especially any sort of fish-flavored ramen. Hold on, I thought you were keeping your status as a Jinchuriki a secret and here you are talking about it at a ramen stand that has dozens of people from outside the village, said Naruto. Actually, that was you. And don't worry, a particular loud-mouthed Jinchuriki here in the village spilled that secret to the world 3 months ago, said Yugito. Huh, another one? Asked Naruto. Yeah, Bisama's the Jinchuriki of the Hachibi and the brother of the Reikage, said Yugito. Great, another one? Just my luck, complained Kurama. Oh quit complaining, responded Naruto. Naruto then turned back to Yugito. So do you think I can meet this bee? I don't really know. Although knowing him, he'll interrupt the exams at some point in time, said Yugito. Huh, what's that mean? Asked Naruto. Yugito just laughed at this. Oh you'll see. He can be a rather interesting guy, said Yugito. Hey, so does this mean you'll be in the exams too? Asked Naruto. Yeah, unfortunately the Reikage didn't give out promotions due to the little attack your village suffered a few months ago. But still, I guess this means that I get to have a bit of fun this time around. And since I don't have to worry about keeping the Nibby a secret anymore, which means I don't have to lose the match like last time. If I could have used the Nibby, I would have beaten that ice guy for sure, said Yugito. Here you go, said the chef, setting the ramen down in front of everyone who had ordered a bowl. So do you know what's special about these bowls? Naruto asked Yugito. Yep, but I'm not going to tell you. That would ruin the surprise, Yugito laughed. All 5 other ramen enthusiasts just shrugged and simultaneously took a sip of the ramen. The flavor was a shock to their systems, literally. The moment they took a bite of the ramen, they received a slight shock from the ramen. Yugito and the chef all laughed at the 5 others' reactions. There's a rare root that grows high in the mountains that we use to make the ramen, explained Gano. It comes from the Kaminari tree. Those trees are famous for being struck by lightning and when that happens, a small charge is stored in the root of the tree. That root helps make a good broth for ramen and also adds a little surprise for the unsuspecting. The Kaminari ramen, as the dish was named, was still an incredibly delicious dish. It didn't quite surpass the Uzumaki ramen that Chuki had begun making, but it still ranked within the top 5 ramen dishes he had ever had. As it was getting late, Naruto left to return to the hotel after having a second bowl of the Kaminari ramen. As he left, Yugito followed and 2 Iwa ninja, who had overheard Naruto's conversation, turned to each other. An Uzumaki, Apparently, I thought we wiped them all out back in the Second War. I guess our forces missed all of them during the invasion. Still, that means we can be the ones to correct the mistakes of our fathers. And you know what else makes it interesting? What? Look who the kid resembles. What do you think our sensei would say if we bring him the head of someone who resembles the infamous Yellow Flash? Hey, you're right. And the best thing is that he's just a brat. This should be pretty easy. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.